Welcome to Jazz Time. Jazz Time is an online store that buys, sells, and trades authentic luxury watches. We make these videos so our customers can easily choose the best watch for themselves in the comfort of their own home. If you like this watch and would like to buy it at the lowest price anywhere online, click the link in the description below to buy it at jazztime.com. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the Richard Mille RM6702 Automatic Winding Extra Flat Zverev Edition. I'm going to talk to you about the bezel, dial, case, bracelet, movement, try it on, and give you my thoughts. So let's start. This is the RM6702. It's part of RM's thin, extra flat collection, and it's part of their core collection, meaning it's not one of them that is limited and is going to change at all. There's only about 5 models that are a part of this collection that are not limited, which is the one that you see right here, the RM6702 Extra Flat or Extra Thin. The 6701, which is the little brother or the dress version of the same watch. The RM30, which is, actually no, it's the 3001. That's become one of their core collections. Also, a lifestyle watch, the RM72, and then their RM65, which is their split second. These 5 models are their main collection. Okay, anyways, let's talk about this one in particular, the 6702. It's derived from the RM6701, which also is an extra thin watch, and it was released back in 2016. Okay, so why did this one come about? Well, RM decided to make a sports version of the 6701 because if you look at the pictures of what the 6701 looks like, it looks just like the 6702 except without these notches and in just a regular metal, either titanium, rose gold, or white gold. And it doesn't look like these ones, the 02s, the sports versions, that are either a carbon TPT or quartz. So this is the sports version of the 01, the 6701. Okay, so why does that make it so special? Well, it's Richard Mille's thinnest and lightest watch that they make. In fact, it only weighs 32 grams, including the strap. Now, they actually weighed on an elastic strap. What you see here is on the Velcro strap, so it might be a little bit more, but it is very close to that 32 grams. To give you some reference, a regular Datejust is about 115 grams. It's 3 times heavier. A normal watch is 3 times heavier. And considering they make this watch 3 times lighter and thinner, and it does the same thing, and it's even more shock resistant, it's quite a feat. A lot of engineering goes into this thing. So the special thing about the 6702 is that it is super light, 32 grams to be precise. And it is very, very thin. In fact, it's only 8 millimeters thin. Actually, it is 7.8 millimeters thin, but let's call it 8. Going back to reference the Datejust again, those are 12 millimeters. Anything around 10 is considered thin. Patek makes a bunch of watches around 10 millimeters. That's considered thin. And anything at 8 or 9 is extra thin. Now, AP does do an extra thin 39mm, and that one is 8 millimeters thick. This one is even thinner than that. It is 7.8 millimeters, and that is considered very thin, okay? So this one is very light and very thin. Okay, but why would you want it to be that thin? When you look at the side profile of watch, it's good to have a thin watch because it's meant to be an all-out sports watch, a watch that can literally be worn when you're driving a race car or jumping over and racing and running and so on and so forth. It's made specifically for those who are doing sports, so it has to be light and it has to be thin for both of those things. And of course, it has to be beautiful and it has to have the Richard Mille concept to it. But with that said, that's what makes this watch so special, and how they create that, well, let's look at the case of the watch. The case of the watch is made of carbon TPT. It's basically pure carbon or closer to carbon fiber. The fiber, they make it so it's the super lightweight and super strong. It's what they actually use in race cars and many other... There are so many applications for carbon fibers. Somehow they lay the fibers on top of each other in a certain way that makes the watch super strong. Anyways, that is what you see when you look at the case. And this one is the Zverev. And that's Zverev. Now, Richard Mille likes to pair their watches with certain sports figures, and I mean, that's like what they do. So they made several variations of the RM6702 in black. They made it in the Germany colors, which is what you see here, and they put it under the name Zverev. But there was some kind of falling out or some kind of issue with them, so they no longer use him as a representative for this watch. So this one is actually discontinued. So if you want to buy this color, this configuration, you have to go to jazztime.com. In fact, any other of these color configurations, you have to go to jazztime.com, because Richard Mille, you have to have a massive history with them to even qualify to even think of buying one of these. But yes, they do make other versions of this. They make one in all white, which is the ambassador to, that is Alex Pinteralt. They also make a green one, which is, I believe the guy's sprinting or something, high jumping, something like that, and his name is Wade van Niekerk. It's an all green one, and they make one that actually has the French colors in it, which is red, white, and blue. Actually, I guess it would be considered American too, right? Also Russian. But anyways, that would be under the name Sebastian Ogier, which I believe has some kind of race car driver. What kind of race car driver? I'm not actually quite sure, but some kind of race car driver, and some other guy from Qatar, and they put that one in the Qatar colors. His name is Mutaz Essa Barshim. That one is red and white, and anyways, they make it in all kinds of different colors with these different representatives. Now, they did just do one in the Italy colors, so they're going to do all sorts of different variations of that, and they're having different ambassadors promoted, or they're promoting through different ambassadors. You get what I mean. At any rate, the one that we're looking at right now is the Zverev Black Carbon TPT. As you can see, it is beautifully done. Now, let's look at, now that we've talked about the case, I might bring your attention, since we're still kind of talking about the case, we'll talk about the case and then the bezel all in one. If you look at the bezel is the part that goes above the glass right here. It has your standard Richard Mille tonneau shaped. If you look at the bezel is the part that goes above the glass right here. It has your standard Richard Mille tonneau shape to it. And it has these 5 spline screws right here. One at the 10 o'clock, the 2 o'clock, the 8 o'clock, and the 4 o'clock. Sometimes you see 2 screws on each side, and then some other models you'll see 4 screws. It just depends. And then you'll have 2 screws that are actually 4 spline, where the case connects with the bracelet. 2 screws holding each other on those sides. This is signature Richard Mille look. Well, anyway, but the difference between the 6701 and what you see here on the 02, it has these notches. You see these notches where the screws are? That gives it a bit more sporty look, in my opinion. They do this in their sportier lines just as a nice aesthetic look to it. I don't think it does anything functional, aside from maybe it allows you to have some more space to screw this in, but it does have a very nice look to me. Okay, and it also gives it more of a rougher look than the simple 67, which was just completely flat there. Anyways, that is the case. Let's go ahead and talk about the movement. Now, the movement, the base plate, and the bridges are all made of titanium. I don't think any other watchmaker does that. And the bridges are these things, these lines, as you can imagine. A bridge is something that connects one side to another. And these lines right here, these bridges, if you will, are made out of titanium. They're black DLC treated to give it sort of a rigidity and also make the watch super light. Now, why make it out of titanium? Titanium is very difficult to work with. It is very difficult to mold and do things, but they do that because it keeps the watch very, very light, and it allows the watch to have this incredible lightness to it. Let's take a look at the back here. Now, if we look at the back, what you've done is they've put this carbon TPT on the rotor. And they've hollowed out the center so that, and they put, I believe, the rotor, this part right here, is made of platinum and allows it to be very heavy on the edges where it needs to be. And then lighter in the center where you see this carbon TPT cutout. So they've done everything they can do to just make sure that this watch is super duper light. And at the same time, they've exposed it so that you can actually see the movement throughout all of this. So it is quite amazing. And I might also add that all these bearings are the things that allow the things to move across each other. All these are ceramic bearings. So it's using the best technology for everything. Ceramic bearings, carbon TPT, a rotor. Sorry, no, it's not platinum at the rotor. It's actually white gold at the rotor. So they're using white gold on the rotor, and they're using all these things to make the movement as light as possible. And of course, they're doing all of these different accents of red on the outside, the yellow on the inside. Now, as I said, some of the other models of the 6702 have different accents, but it's basically the same movement, the same case, maybe a different material, maybe a different color. I'll believe they'll probably continue doing that. They started releasing the 6702 a year or two after the 6701. Which I believe that was released in 2017, and now it's 2023, and they've been running for 6 years. They'll probably continue producing for another 4 or 5 years, depending, and before they change their model. But now let's talk about the strap. The strap is a Velcro strap, as you can see. Now they have different sizes, small, medium, large, that you can buy. And they also have elastic ones. Elastic ones, you just put them on, and as you can imagine, it's elastic. This one is Velcro. So it really just depends on what you want. You can change them, and it's really easy. And by the way, backtracking to the movements, the movement is only 4 millimeters thick. That's it. It's 4 millimeters. It is not thick at all. Considering the entirety of the watch is 7.8 millimeters, that only leaves less than 4 millimeters for the rest of the watch. I guess I should have talked about that earlier. I should have told you all the dimensions. The dimensions of the watch are 38.7 going from the 9 o'clock to the 3 o'clock, that's left to right, 38.7. And going up to down, the 12 to 6, that's 47.5 millimeters, and then it's 7.8 millimeters in thickness. It is not a terribly big watch at all. Width-wise, it is actually a very well-sized watch. Most people could wear this. In fact, I have sold this to women. Women will easily wear this. Alright, I guess we have finished up the movements. We now just finished the dimensions, the dial, the movements, the bracelets, and it's all the same because it's all skeletonized. Alright, so let's go ahead and that's it. Let's try it on and give you my thoughts. Anyways, I am 6 feet tall. My wrist is 7.5 inches and I weigh about 200 pounds. As you can see, this watch does not look too small on me at all. My thoughts are on this watch is, well, Richard Mille really makes only 5 core models that most people can choose from because the other ones are all super limited and very exclusive, and one of 50 costs like $500,000. Now, these RM67s, they retail for around $200,000, and you can buy them at jazztime.com in the 2s. I think I'm on the mid-2s, somewhere between 250, 270, at least as of 2023, they've come down. They used to be even higher during the peak, but they've come down a little bit, and it is still a very decent price, considering that if you went to an authorized dealer at Richard Mille, one of these there, and there would not be many of this particular watch, and you have to wait in line for quite some time, and you'd have massive sales history, and then you might have to qualify for one of these after several years. To cut straight to the top of the line at jazztime.com, then you could just have it on your wrist in a very short couple of days. It is a good deal. And if you're going to talk about the ability to wear this thing and, the wearability, I would say this one ranks at the very top. I would say that the 72 is also a very wearable watch, but it is not as sporty as this one. So the only other thing that could compete with this 67 is the RM65, which is the split second. But the split second is a gigantic watch. It is 16 millimeters thick, and it's like 48 millimeters wide, 50 millimeters going up and down. It is a giant watch. Now, that watch is also great. The 65 is fantastic. They made it out of carbon TPT, but if you want a watch that is much more wearable and that you could wear to a sporting type event and just look cool in, I think the 67 would be at the top of your list. If you look at the RM30, they don't make it out of any other material other than the regular metals. The lifestyle, they only make it in regular metals. And the 6701, they only make that in regular metals. So to have ones that are made in this carbon TPT, if that's what you're looking for, here it is in the 6702 and the RM6501. So I just think it is a great watch. It does not draw too much attention. In fact, if you kind of want to walk around with a watch that people aren't going to stare at, people are probably going to stare at you if you have a Rolex, as opposed to having this watch. So if you want to have this watch, I think you'll probably have a less likelihood of people, potentially wanting to rob you. But in any case, it kind of looks like a beautiful G-Shock. And those who know, but those who don't, they probably don't, and they don't really want to know. Anyways, that's my thoughts. I think it's a fantastic watch for the price. It is very beautiful, and if you would like to buy it, go to jazztime.com.
If you want to find out more about the watch you just saw in the video, you can just click below on Show More to see the full description. Then you can check the link next to model as seen in video, click on it, and you will get to the proper page where you can see all the details. If you're watching on a mobile phone, you have to click on the arrow down on the right hand side below the video to see the full description. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you would like to share this video with your friends, you can use the share button below and share it on any platform you like. If you have questions, constructive feedback, want to tell us about some mistakes or misspeaks, just write a comment below. If you want to see more videos like this, you should subscribe to our channel and visit our channel page where you can find all the videos. And if you're interested in a specific watch brand, you can check out our playlists. If you want to check the price for a watch or want to buy one, remember at jazztime.com you always get a steep discount, so you should check the prices with us. If you want to know the price for a specific watch, just go to Google, type in JazzTime, plus the brand, model, and the details you're interested in, and Google will find the right page for you. Thank you for watching.